welcome to Table Talk 5.75. It's just the boys this week, and we're talking about Historicon, among many other things. Join us on Reddit, YouTube, Instagram, or send us an email at lateafternoongaming@gmail.com if there's something you want us to talk about. Enjoy. I was thinking about this last night. I was having trouble falling asleep, where when we start recording, I usually say 3, 2, 1, record. The problem is, usually what I'm doing there is the beat that you're supposed to click on is when I say chord, not re. It's a problem with using a 2-syllable word on a timed command. So I've decided that now I'm going to start saying 3, 2, 1, go. That way it's a little more clear.
Is that why we don't have any listeners?
I think so, yeah, because we're off by the 20th of a second.
It's some phasing thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There are, so that's something I have to do. I've got this device in real life for another podcast that I run. It's a Zoom device, and what it does is it records a bunch of different microphones to different tracks and just saves it to an SD card. The good thing about that is it will automatically start them all at the same time, so I don't have to sync anything up. Obviously, the way we do things for this podcast, we don't use any sort of syncing software, which apparently exists. We just don't use it.
I'm reporting from like my Joe Rogan podcast trailer.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I have an Airstream actually parked at the top of my apartment building.
I
had to have it helicoptered in.
So what that means is that I have to sync them up manually, and we all hit record at the same time, but obviously it's not at exactly the same time. Someone's 20th of a second early or a 5th of a second late or whatever the case may be. So that's something that I have to, it's like the first thing I do is try and sync everything up, and usually it's already so close that it doesn't really matter. But every once in a while something weird happens. But it's apparently there is software out there. I think I was listening to the Fifth Column, and in one of the episodes they mentioned by name the software that they use, where it's something that it works sort of like Craig does, I think, in Discord, where it records it locally to your device and then uploads it to one spot, but it makes it all one file. It's something like that. What we're doing works, so I'm not interested in paying for anything else, but it would be nice.
Yeah. Well, speaking of other podcasts like the Fifth Column, at what point do we think we'll be able to execute a live show? Like, how many listeners do we think we need?
I think we go with none. Let's just sit. We're going to rent out a space, empty room.
Just go to like a restaurant or bar and say, hey, we have this podcast and we want to do a live show, and just give them the impression that we think this will pack the bar. But then we show up and it's just us.
Well, I think what we can do is actually use this as a way to get followers. Oh. So what we do is we go, some con, one of the smaller ones, but something that's still has a lot of attendees. Con. No, some sort of Comic-Con kind of thing, though probably a smaller one. And we shell out the money to get stage space for like 2 hours. And we, so we're on the schedule of hey, Late Afternoon Gaming is doing a live show. And there will be people who are curious enough about what is that? They've got a panel here, so they must be somebody.
Oh, okay.
And then they show up, and then, we pretend like they all know who we are, even though none of them would. But, that would generate word of mouth. And of course there would be a video of it that would show up on, the Comic-Con official or whatever channel.
No, you're making a lot of sense right now.
Yeah. I think we might have talked about it before. I know we talked about it in the Discord chat. One of the funniest things that I ever saw with Critical Role was back when I used to watch them a couple years ago. They did a live show where their audio got a little messed up. Something was wrong with the speakers, so people couldn't really hear what they were saying very well for some portion of it. And which that kind of stuff happens. They had done a bunch of live shows, and I think this was the first one where anything went kind of really wrong. And somebody went through and did subtitles really quickly, and they did some other little fixes, but people were so mad about the like deteriorated audio quality. You know, people who were like their Twitch subscribers or whatever, and they were like, "Oh my god, you know, I pay so much money a month for this," and you know, blah blah blah. Like they went from being, you know, the very like, I don't know, the Critical Role audience is very strange to me, where they seem like they're so nice and friendly and supportive until a single thing isn't, you know, exactly the way they want it to be, and then they just become super vicious. And this is one of those cases.
And you know what? I want to reach out right now and say, Critical Role fans, if you're listening, unsubscribe.
Get out.
Yeah.
We don't want you here.
Yeah. I've heard that this is a good thing to do, is to, you know, tell a segment of your audience that they're not wanted.
Right.
And then I'll come back and complain.
To create more in-groups.
Yeah. I'll complain later when our listenership falls off. Like, what happened? Misogynists.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Blame it on something else.
Yeah.
But no, I think that something like a live show, in the event that anyone ever actually, like, we ever gained an audience, I think a live show could be fun. But I'll be honest, I don't know that there's a lot to be gained from that kind of thing.
I don't know. I mean, it's a hype thing. We need to hype it up. And speaking of, I'm thinking we may want to politically align ourselves.
Oh, yeah?
I haven't picked a side yet.
Well, we could be a new side every episode. People
new
tune
side,
in to know, you know,
We
what we're
could
going to do
create-
today.
We could create a side.
I think the value in aligning politically is there are pre-made sides that we could take advantage. You know, if we like strike out on our own and create our own position, that doesn't really help our numbers.
Also, that actually sounds like a lot of work. I think we should just figure out, like, or better yet, not even really figure out what neo-reactionaries think, and just do that.
I don't know. There are not enough of them.
What speaks to you about the neo-reactionary movement, Jack? Can you elaborate?
No, that's the beauty of it. Is
have you ever tried to
very
read
ignorant?
Any of the Mencius Moldbug stuff?
I started it.
It's pretty dense.
Yeah.
So I went. This is for some period of time during COVID. I thought, okay, I'm going to sit down and actually read all of the like foundational neo-reactionary stuff, like all of. I don't remember what the like Mencius Moldbug's primer is called, but it's on that.
Isn't it Unqualified Reservations?
Unqualified
or something like
Reservations is the name of the blog. I think there's like a gentle introduction or something like that.
Right. Okay.
But it's hundreds of pages of incredibly flowery, unclear text. Like his writing style is so annoying to me. That even though I thought what was being discussed was interesting, I disagreed with a lot of it, of course, but more than the subject matter, what turned me off was the writing style.
Oh, really? What did you not like about it?
It's he takes forever to get to his point, and he never states his points clearly.
So you can't read it like a textbook and find like the bolded portion that gives you like the no kidding, this is exactly what I mean.
Right, and don't get me wrong, like, well, it's not that I need everything like extremely explicitly laid out for me, but the whole time I was reading, it felt like things were just being hinted.
Right.
Or like we were kind of approaching a point, but by the end of any given section, I thought like we had skirted the edges of something over and over again, so I sort of had an idea. But it's rarely just in black and white, just brought out for you. So I don't know. I think it doesn't matter what the subject matter is. It doesn't matter if it's something that I just totally agreed with. You know, if you write like that, it's fucking annoying. And it's the exact opposite of like my caveman writing style.
Right. Well, and because your writing is very technical, even I would say when you write something like fiction, like it is very like brief to the point of being abrupt, which I think is very entertaining. Though arguably doesn't necessarily fit all genres.
Fair enough.
But I think that, you know, what you write, it makes sense for. But I think to your point, something like, you know, a kind of a political treatise, that is the exact kind of place for that kind of writing for the most part.
Well, I guess it depends on your objective, right? If you actually want to be understood, that is not ever an appropriate way to write.
Sure.
If you are getting paid by the word, or, right. I mean, I think in this case, if you are trying to sound really smart, but you also sort of want to obscure what you're saying, you know,
right,
either
you want to be like politically safe, like, oh well, I never said that.
Well, and I don't know that anyone would accuse Mencius Moldbug of trying to be politically safe, but you know, whether you're concealing it because you don't want to get called out on something that you kind of want to say, but you don't want to be called out on saying, or you want to blur your points or logic to make it harder to attack you. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It may be purely a stylistic decision and not strategic at all, but it's... Anyway, if anyone wants to you know, give themselves a headache, go look up Unqualified Reservations.
It's in the link dump. In addition to the Wikipedia page for apparently his real name is Curtis Yarvin, and he does not look like what I expected him to look like.
Is he super handsome?
He has a Wikipedia has an odd image for him.
I mean, he's a computer programmer guy, and he looks like a computer programmer guy.
Yeah, I just didn't expect those flowing locks, you know.
Real quick, Duncan. So this is the second time this has happened on podcast, and I thought I misheard the first time. So you say primer instead of primer. Mm-hmm. Where am I crazy? Is that pronounced primer?
I also believe that it was primer.
Well, yeah. We're about to... Yeah, all right, go ahead and place your bets, gentlemen.
So I already Googled it. Primer I didn't find anywhere.
It's spelled primer.
Okay. So where is the pronunciation primer coming from?
Well, here, I'm confident I'm right. We just need to find a source to substantiate that.
That's how that works.
Oh, actually, so I did find one, a small introductory book on a subject, and this one says primer, then the other one says primer. Okay. No, it looks like you are correct.
Yeah. So I think...
a short, informative piece of writing. Primer.
Yeah, primer, pronounced primer. My understanding has always been that that's a base layer that you put on something, like usually before you paint it. But or specifically,
in explosives.
Like an academic introduction to something is called a primer.
Man, I never knew that.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
But I think it's like it makes sense by analogy to think that it's a primer.
Right, because it's like priming you for whatever.
It's like priming a pump or priming, you're like laying down a foundation to then expand upon. But yeah, it's primer, and you guys just revealed yourselves to be Philistines.
Yeah, I mean, nothing new there.
But if you had read all of Curtis Yarvin's works, you would know that it was primer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Jack, by the way, I don't use the Zoom PodTrack P8. I use the R20.
Oh, my apologies. So, just as a note, primer. I just looked up primer definition, and the only thing that comes up is the adjective, like primer as in more prim. The general consensus appears to be that primer as a noun is not a word, and everything I'm looking at says that a primer is the actual correct thing.
So I went to Merriam-Webster, and the first definition, noun 1, is a small book, or a small introductory book on a subject. Then if you click on the pronunciation one, it's got a soft I.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Even though it's spelled primer.
Right. That's the clarification. Is it's Primer, primer.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. It's one of those things too where, like, I don't want to I want to be correct, but this is one of those cases where if
It's
I
going to be
say
a conversation starter for sure.
this, many people will think, as I did, that I'm incorrect. But I got to stand by my principles. Now that I know that it's primer, that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, so my thing that I've been doing for a little while now is anytime someone challenges me on something, no matter how trivial, I try to force them to bet money.
Oh, yeah.
So
you did
right
that.
away,
Actually, I do
before the
like
phones
that.
come out, before we look up, because they'll say maybe very confidently, "I don't think that's right," and I go, "Okay, how much you want to bet?"
Uh-huh.
And they're like, "Well, I don't," and then I will. Either they bet money, or I immediately jump on them for being full of shit.
What you didn't do, and what I wish that you had done, this is something that was discussed like a year ago. If you're confident that you're correct, you make your point, and then you say, mate in two.
Oh, yeah, no, that was something I recommended to him a long time ago. But, yeah, I don't know that it's fair to say that just because someone, if they're acting very confidently and then won't put money down, that's one thing. But if
That is what I'm talking about.
Okay. I thought you meant just generally if people are like, well, I'm not so sure. And
No,
you're like, well, you better
it's
put the money
not
down.
a thing. No.
Yeah.
I mean, I do that too, but for other
Sure,
reasons.
it's different. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about when they come at you and they assert that you are wrong. And yeah, I try to flip that pressure.
Right.
I'm a big believer in betting. I don't remember where I read this, but someone was making the argument that this is like the purest, most reassuring form of confidence. Where like some people, a lot of people, I think it is unethical to bet on yourself or to bet on your team or something like that. I think that's like the
I've never
epitome
heard
of
of that.
ethics. But yeah, I mean, putting your money where your mouth is means you really think you're right. So,
Right. Oh, well, and I think, if you are wrong often enough, then in theory, it might be a practice that teaches you to, think things through a little more, or when the situation presents itself, to really interrogate whatever your belief is and say, like, hey, do I really have a justification for this? Or if I know that I do have a justification, what is it, and is it something that I should be so reliant on?
I think even less complicated than that. If someone is willing to bet on something, like if in this hypothetical conversation where we're hanging out by the water cooler and I say primer like 17 or 18 times, and then you say
And you keep staring at me every time you say it.
I think it's called a primer, and then I say, you want to bet? How much money you bet? And then you say like, I'll bet $200 that it's primer. I have a lot of confidence that you really mean that. And because I'm right, now I get $200.
Yeah, or excuse me, I care so little about those $200 that I'm willing to just throw it around. That's the other side.
Could be. I mean, we are making a lot of money with the podcast now, so. I am. Speaking of podcast money, some new swag from Spalted Dolphin is, I think, about to hit the Etsy shop.
Oh, yeah?
I assume they're about to start selling those glasses. I don't know what you call the style of glass, like the beer can shaped ones. So I recently acquired a Spalted Dolphin. I have a Spalted Dolphin and a Late Afternoon Gaming branded glass. But the other one, I don't know if Caboose posted a photo of this, but we've been talking forever about the sound that the dice trays make when you roll in them. And I had recommended a long time ago that he make one that had a guitar bottom.
Yeah.
And he did, and it sounds like a gun going off. Like, so there's no leather at the bottom of the tray, it's bare wood. And then there's, I think, a couple of millimeters between that and another layer of wood beneath with a hole in it. And we were rolling in it, I think we were rolling in it just with resin dice. It wasn't even metal or stone or anything like that, but it was alarmingly loud. So for any listeners that are looking to really intimidate other people at the table, whether you have a badly behaved player, or you have maybe a tyrannical DM and you're the player, keep an eye out on the Spalted Dolphin Etsy shop and get one of those guitar bottom trays, because they're fierce.
Mm-hmm. I do like the title that they give for these trays, where it's, such and such, material, dice tray for D&D, DCC, or any TTRPG war game and board game. It's like a
hashtag.
Yeah, like a search optimized title for this. Yeah. I think that kind of stuff is funny. But yeah, I love my dice tray. I to be totally honest, I'm really not very big into like the accessory stuff. Like, I have bought a lot of dice and stuff like that, but like if I lost them all tonight, I wouldn't really care that much. But given that I'm going to be playing these games, you might as well have the good stuff, and this is it.
In my effort to collect interesting dice, I recently picked up, I posted a picture in the thread, these beautiful Ten Commandments dice.
Uh-huh. It's like the opposite of like the roleplay sex dice.
Mm-hmm. Right. I have not yet figured out how I'm going to incorporate it into our game, but...
Mm-hmm. So in this picture, there are two of them. I assume it's just so that you can see both sides, because there wouldn't be any point in rolling two of them at the same time.
Yeah,
because you're only supposed to follow one commandment at a time.
Right, exactly.
But for the listeners, this is a very large D10 that has each side has one of the 10 commandments on it. I was someplace earlier this week where there was a booth set up where they were selling different all different types of dice, and they were selling by the die. It's super cheap. I think I picked this up for like $2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the pictures you sent of it was Historicon, right?
Yeah.
Looked pretty neat. I'm not a historical wargaming guy, but I haven't had the opportunity to go to a lot of those kinds of things just because of where I've been living, and mostly that, just the areas that I've been in haven't had that much. But now it is possible. I should probably look some of this stuff up and see if there's anything. I also have no friends.
Yeah.
So,
That's
I don't want to
surprising.
go to these things alone.
I have some hot takes on, cons and wargaming and stuff like that. So
Let's hear it.
I'm not a frequent con goer.
You're not a con artist?
Historicon, for those of you virgins out there. Historicon is a historical miniatures wargaming convention. I can't remember the name of the group that puts it on. Historical Miniatures Gaming Society, Wargaming Society, something like that. And
they sound like an organization that wouldn't have a good acronym for their name.
I think it's HMGS. I think it's Historical Miniatures Gaming Society. But in any case, it's pretty big, and so this convention was in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and it's very cool, and it's exactly what you would think it is, but it's also not for me. So it was in a this big convention center, and I was sort of dubious that there would be enough people interested in this that they would be filling multiple ballrooms. They did that very easily. So it was several different ballrooms full of really big, interesting war games, and so it had a theme. This year's theme was America 1789 to 1897 or something like that. It was like
Expansion and Civil War, 1789 to 1897.
Okay, I nailed it. So I don't know what weight that theme really carried, because there were relatively few games that were set in America during that time period. There were World War II games. There were ancient sort of games. There were kind of these classic games that you always expect to see at these things, like the Alamo. Some fantasy games, and I was sending pictures to the server the whole time. Caboose did as well. But my quick take on this is, I really appreciate the creativity and the craftsmanship that goes into putting together the scenery and the landscapes and the miniatures and stuff like that. But the games are not fun to play in. And I mean, I have to caveat this by saying I didn't play in any of them. I watched a lot of them because the setups are usually, some guy will put together this beautiful landscape with all these cool miniatures, and it'll take up 8 folding tables that are pushed together. So it'll be a big table, and there will be 12 players, and then they will run a game using maybe an established system, maybe a boutique system that they've written themselves or modified. And ultimately what that means, though, because it's a convention and you can't expect that your players are familiar with the system, between the number of players and the novelty of the system and the volume of the room and stuff like that, the games are really slow. So you wait a long time to take a pretty simple turn. And so anyway, very cool to look at, not that interesting to play in. That was my take.
Well, and I think that is, we've talked about it before, where things like D&D kind of were birthed from systems that are more similar to what you're describing.
Yeah.
Because I think the whole idea is, hey, let's make systems that are more general and versatile that you can use to describe a great number of situations. And then over time, the goal has been to simplify the way we take turns and the scheme of the game so that we can streamline it a little bit. So I think the games that we play now are specifically designed to remedy some of the less thrilling characteristics of those kinds of games.
No question. And even further in that direction, we tend to play games with a smaller number of players.
Sure.
So, and 2 years ago, we had a bunch of different systems going on the server. Now we've pared it down to 2. Well, I guess 3. Because Nerf runs Mothership, and I run DG and DCC. And that's pretty much it. We play in those 3 systems.
Speaking of which, Nerf ran a Mothership game on Friday that was a ton of fun. It of course ended with my character killing himself.
Nice.
As all good games do. But it was really fun. It was a good one. I hadn't played with him in such a long time. Well, apart from I hadn't played Mothership with him in a very long time. And it was fun to have him do that.
Oh, funny anecdote from Historicon before we close this out. One of the booths that they had out, because there is half a ballroom was just people selling stuff.
Right.
Which is pretty cool. Most of it is materials for making landscapes or buying miniatures or things like that. But one of the ones that was set up was a dude just had a huge used book collection that was mostly military history.
Checks out. It makes sense.
And I was curious, naval wargaming was very underrepresented at this con, and I was looking for naval wargaming, or not naval wargaming books, but just naval history stuff. And so I start thumbing through all these books, and there was very little of it, but I picked up each one I could, and by the end, by the time I was going to cash out, I realized all I had was 6 books on German U-boats.
Okay. I mean, it's an interesting part of history, no doubt.
It is, but it started to look a little strange. It's like a biography of Admiral Donuts and Iron Cross winners of the U-boat service, and by the time I get up to the guy, I was like, oh, I don't know if he's gonna be concerned by what he's saying.
He's the one
here.
selling them. He doesn't get to be mad about people buying them.
Right. No, but it's definitely going to go up in my office at work now.
Yeah, no, it's good to make sure that things in your office are like borderline. You know, like they're an eyebrow raiser, but something that like, you know, I kind of want to talk to him about it, but I just don't know what to say. I had gotten you guys some little nameplates for your desks a while ago. Jack, I think yours said like the smart guy or the problem solver or
It's a smart guy, and I brought it into work, and I don't know how many people believed me when I said, "Oh yeah, a friend of mine got that for me."
What, they thought that you just got it for yourself?
Yeah, got a name tag that has my name and then says the smart guy.
Yeah, because then Duncan, I think yours, I think it said problem solver.
Mine does.
Or something.
And I had just, I don't like the business cards my company makes, because it's almost all
It doesn't
company
have that
branding.
off-white color.
It's not American Psycho enough for me. No, it's my company has gotten weirdly controlling of like business cards and email signatures, where every time there's some tiny little corporate level change, they'll say like, "Oh, here's the new email signature everyone has to use
for email signatures." And read it this weekend.
It's so big. You know, there's so much stuff they want you to put in there, and it's annoying. But I rebelled on the business cards, and they're like, I'm not going to get something that's just a huge company branding thing where my name is like not even on the card, or you have to like get out a microscope to find it. So I made my own business cards that are don't even have my company's branding on them. It's just my name huge on it and my title. And so I had those cards in the little holder that you sent me. Anyway, I thought it made me look like a huge asshole.
Well, I think that makes sense, especially if you keep them at your desk. If people are coming up to your desk, then they probably know what building they're in.
One would imagine.
So, you know, then it's okay. It would be funny if you had just reversed the whole thing where you've got your name really big and then just your company's name, you know, in the corner.
What I want to get like really nice business cards that the only thing on it is my name, and it's very small right in the middle, and then it has no other information. Like you gain nothing by having this thing. I hand it to you, and it doesn't help you at all.
So Duncan had cards like that years ago, but I think it did have your email address on the back, but it just said your name on the front, and then just had your email address on the back, and that's it.
It
And
was like
I love them.
It was a black card that had my name in very small font in white on one side, and then when you flipped it over, I think it was a white card that had like my email address in black. That was it. What do you guys think about getting business cards that are like trading cards? It looks like a Pokemon card or a Yu-Gi-Oh card. It has like a holographic picture of you and some stats.
Yeah, and when you give it to people, it's already in the like the mint seal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, once we go into business together, like we could, if we're meeting new people, we could have like a blister pack ready, with like all of our cards in it.
Right. And then you can buy the booster pack, and it has like, you know, some other, some tertiary people. It's got like the Spalta Dolphin business card in it and everything like that.
I'm trying to imagine, you know, if I went to like a professional conference or something like that, and we're, you know, I'm talking to someone and they're like, oh, you know, let me give you my card. I'm like, oh, okay. And I give them mine, and it's not the right size or shape.
Right.
Like, where are you going to put
pentagonal.
That? They don't know what to do.
Yeah. But that actually, I really like it. Yeah, making non-traditionally sized or shaped cards.
It's like a square. It's a circle. Or, you know, maybe my card needs to be a coaster, and I just carry those around with me.
Right, it's a huge pain in the butt.
It's spherical.
Right, yeah, it's the worst possible shape. And then you can, you know, if they compliment your card, you flip them a sunlight token as well.
Yeah. Or maybe I just need to bite the bullet and get fidget spinners made.
That was a thing. I remember back maybe like 5 years ago at the height of fidget spinner popularity. You know, you would go somewhere, or like you'd go to like a blood drive or whatever, and then instead of a t-shirt, they'd give you a blood drive fidget spinner. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah,
you can find those things anywhere.
I was given one fidget spinner as like a corporate promotional thing at some point in the past couple of years, and it had like a bottle opener on either end.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, It was like, okay, well, I could always use more bottle openers, you know? So,
a buddy of mine bought or somehow acquired it was like a fidget cube, and it was just this thing that had a bunch of little, like, doodads that you could press and like
those
satisfying switches and whatever. So,
there's
like,
a lot of
one
those
of them
out there. They're not cheap.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can get extremely expensive fidget toys.
Can you link the most expensive one you can find?
Yeah, I'll do some digging.
When you say not cheap, what are you talking, like a couple $100 or something?
Yeah, for something that is just like basically a hunk of like machined metal with some magnets in it, maybe.
Yeah.
I wonder, what are you paying for?
That's what
at
the
that
market
point?
will bear.
Is it like a very specific tactile feel and sound? I mean, is that what you're paying so much money for?
Maybe. I know, like,
A really satisfying.
Right, it's something that's supposed to be
press,
just something that is like, it feels good to do. The one that my buddy had, I think, was pretty cheap, but it had like, you know, like a Xbox controller where you can, like, you know, L3 click the stick in. It just had like this really chunky sound when you did it. There's like that kind of thing, and there's like a light switch looking thing and some other things on it. I don't know. I think it only had 6 things to do because it was a cube, but
I don't know. I mean, I generally try not to fidget.
Right, yeah, I know. That's what I was going to say, is this encourages the kind of behavior that I actually want to not do.
Right. And yeah, I mean, in fairness, I don't have any kind of disability that causes me to fidget. I just drink too much coffee.
Yeah, no, I noticed that I do the same thing. Like, I don't just sit still. Like, I'm always moving something or adjusting something. Not for any particular reason, but just so that I'm doing something. And I noticed that I do that a couple years ago. And I've been trying to work on that to no great degree of success. But, you know, I don't want to trade one kind of fidgeting for another. I'll just work on the one that I have right now.
Speaking of fidget toys, I know we've already seen this before, but lest we forget about the fidget spinner butt plug with emoji.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Talk about a good branding option.
Yeah. The emoji.
Maybe that's
really,
what I should be handing out. Is branded
brings
butt
it home.
plugs. Why isn't this going into the table talk material thread?
Yeah, you're right. Here.
I'm glad it comes with a couple different emojis. Like, and you have to imagine that this kind of thing, it's, you know, no one is buying this kind of thing seriously, I would think. You know, it's the gag gift.
I don't know, man.
I mean, maybe there is somebody. The preponderance of people who would buy something like this, I think it's like, you know, their Secret Santa present to somebody just because it's so dumb.
Well, it's worth pointing out that if you're
cutter.
If you're gagging on it, you're using the wrong hole.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, the Hutzler 571 banana slicer, which I'm pretty sure I bought for you at one point, Jack.
You did, and I'll tell you what, I did use it once just to be like, obviously this is a dumb product, but is it even effective? No, it isn't.
Oh, didn't you say it's too, like, it's not sharp enough, so it just crushes the banana?
Oh, is it because your banana's all bent the wrong way?
Yeah, they bent the wrong way. No, the issue, because bananas are, like, it doesn't need to be sharp to cut through a banana. The issue was you would, you know, push down, it would cut through the banana, but then all of the pieces would kind of be stuck inside it. You have to poke them all out, and then they would kind of deform as you push them out. Because there wasn't like a good coating that made it not stick to the banana.
Yeah, I thought it would make more sense to have the frame and then just have, like, wires.
Yes, that would definitely work better.
Well, if you mail it to me and give me $100, I'll apply a non-banana stick coating.
Yeah, he'll spray Pam all over it and send it back. Yeah, but the joke behind that product is that it's one of those weird Amazon ones where the reviews, it's just like a comedy show.
It's right up there with that the sugar-free Haribo.
Yeah, the 5-pound bag of sugar-free Haribo gummy bears.
The like gut
Or
apocalypse.
The Three Wolf T-shirt classic.
Oh, you know what? I think I'm gonna go for matchbooks.
Ah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
I think it's fallen out of fashion.
It has, but I think maybe it's been out of fashion for long enough now that it is retro.
It's like retro, yeah. Because I think as smoking becomes less popular. So no, we should do vapes. We should have late afternoon gaming vapes.
Oh yeah.
Because that's what the youngins do now.
I really don't want to encourage vaping, because I think it's really annoying. I'm happy if like we want to get branded cigarettes. That's okay.
Okay, we're sponsored by Philip Morris, so
Yeah.
that's
Actually, you know what? Philip Morris, please contact me.
yeah. Hey, I mean, I've said it before. We'll sell out, to whoever's most convenient. So, and Philip Morris has a lot of money, so
Yeah, I do not believe that nicotine causes addiction.
yeah, of course, Philip Morris.
Yeah.
Let me know. lateafternoongaming@gmail.com. Just shoot me a note.
All of my, for anyone who is wondering, everyone in Golden River Underground has been smoking in every scene.
Right. Yeah, we just thought it kind of went without saying.
It's kind of my J.K. Rowling, like
Wizard shit
modification.
Yeah.
Right, the post facto rewrites of everything.
Yeah.
The revisionist version of it, yeah.
And the chief has been in a wheelchair the whole time.
Yeah, of course.
One of my favorite J.K. Rowling things was, I don't remember if it was her or if it was somebody else who was making the claim that Hermione was canonically
Black, right?
Black or something. They were
it
like,
the
yeah, there's
capital
nothing
B?
in the books that ever says that never like references anything about her skin color, so that's plausible. And then there was some snippet that people kept posting where it was like Hermione's white face from the books.
or her fair skin or something. Yeah. Now, quick question. So you keep saying rolling, but I believe it's pronounced primer.
How much you want to bet?
I won $1 billion.